Sekeres and Price for Tuesday, June 30th, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365. Final day of June here. I can't believe it already, 2026. At Bet365, boring games a thing of the past. Now, there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Matt Sekeres virtually alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner, two-time provincial basketball champion, a world log rolling titleist Mike Rogerson hitting switches and conducting things. How's your day going?
I haven't really had a day outside of this work day, but I have enjoyed watching the opener in the World Cup.
How's your World Cup show going with Riccio? Boy, you guys have had tons to talk about. Oh my goodness.
Like every day, it's just it's just been a marvelous festival, and it actually. People that have compared it as an event to the Olympics, I'll say this as a consumer. The fact that it lasts this long with everyday entertainment, to me, tips the scales a little. Obviously, you get more variety at the Summer Olympics, but it's only 2 weeks. We're past the 2 week mark already here, and we're still getting fun.
Right. And of course, in the Olympics, your days are packed a little more solid, particularly the Summer Olympics with everything that's going on. I don't find myself as a neutral third party getting behind Olympic events where a Canadian is not a medal hope. Yeah, it doesn't mean I can't watch it. Like there'll be plenty of events, both Winter and Summer Olympics, that I enjoy watching. But for whatever reason, I find myself attached to some of these soccer teams. Like, I could barely identify Cote d'Ivoire on a map, but I was pulling hard for them to get the equalizer here against Norway. And how about like Norway, Brazil in the next round? That should be a lot of fun. Anyways, We'll talk some footy later. We'll start with the daily poll question. Ryan Johnson, he likes size, he likes speed, he likes character. That's what he told everybody yesterday. We're going to play the clip later. And our buddy Tyson Cole has a list of 7 free agent fits or targets for the Canucks when NHL free agency begins tomorrow, Canada Day.
That fit the criteria we think.
Right, but we also know they're going to bring in a veteran defenseman for the purposes of depth and veteran leadership. And you know how Canucks Nation loves its ex-Canucks, right? And so we're asking on the daily poll question, which ex-defenseman should the Canucks sign for depth and veteran leadership? Ian Cole, Eric Goodbranson, Noah Juleson, Luke Shen. You can cast your votes, the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. All these guys once played for the Vancouver Canucks. My vote's for Ian Cole. The room seemed to implode after Ian Cole left a couple of years ago. He was one and done here, the lone playoff season they've had in the last little while. Goodbranson was a terrible trade once upon a day. They gave up way too much for a defensive defenseman that the league was moving away from. But I'll give him credit. He's hung on. And in part, it's because he's a great communicator. Does not lack for personality, communication skills. His mom's gotten involved in politics. Noah Juleson of Abbotsford, of course, he was here not long ago, then joined up with Rick Tocchet in Philadelphia. And then Luke Shen. I mean, one of the all-time good guys, right?
Good guy.
We've seen a couple of times in Canucks colors. So there you go. Do you have a preference here, Price?
Well, first of all, on the relative scale, Noah Juleson could be a development camp next to these guys. Noah Juleson is 29 years of age. He's a spring chicken. He's also only got 200 games in the NHL versus the other guys who are absolute surefire NHL veterans.
Pension guys.
But Ian Cole's, Ian Cole's going to be 38 midseason. Luke Schen's going to be 37 midseason. Erica Branson's going to be 35 midseason. These are seniors. But you know who had the best season, I would say, of those three last year? Ian Cole. Ian Cole had a really nice year.
Yeah.
And the Mammoth trotted him out. And this is of note here because this is what the Canucks will ask of him. He had I think a 68 defensive zone start percentage. So, and still skated to a plus 16 this year as a result.
That's
so
really
he
good.
kept his head above water despite overwhelmingly starting every shift in the defensive zone. That's the kind of guy, even at the age of 38, that
Blake,
I think the Canucks could probably use.
2 years ago at 36, he was terrific for the Canucks. Now,
Yeah.
he really faded down the stretch, and he got hurt in the playoffs, and so his level really fell off the table as the 82-plus went on. Remember, they went to the second round that year.
But he doesn't have to play every night here this year.
Oh,
right?
but the early part of the season, Ian Cole was like a godsend for the Canucks. He was just a steady, reliable defenseman who played within his limitations and apparently was excellent for the room. And God knows the room went to pot after that year. Okay, so
he hasn't missed a game in 2 seasons, by the way. 82 for the last 2. And that was preceded by 75, 78, 78. Like the guy, like he might fade, he might get a little tired, but you're still putting him out there.
Tough
it's not
customer.
like Utah Mammoth didn't have options.
Yeah, tough customer. He's going to play through the pain. Okay, so we're agreed there. The Tyson Cole list. Let me fire this at you. Tell me what you think. Sure. Boone Jenner, Scott Lawton, North Vance Colton Sissons, Cole Smith. Now we move to defense. Jeremy Lauzon, Zach Bogosian.
I mean, commitment, means everything. You're providing that you're not giving anybody a 4-year deal here.
No.
1 to 2. Cap hit doesn't really matter. Canucks don't have cap issues.
Cap hit only matters insofar as you do want to be able to try and trade the player, right? So
yes. Yeah. So as long as it's not an exorbitant cap hit for an acquiring team, eventually, then, honestly, I don't have I would warn against oversubscribing. You want to bring in one of those guys, okay. But given the Canucks have already got their incumbents, they've got Brendan Gallagher coming in as a veteran, like one of those guys, okay. But let's not block the young players from getting their chances.
I hear you. So you've got Pettersson, you've got Rossi, you've got maybe Hedel, you've got Ratu down the middle. You're not bringing back Teddy Bluger, right? Yeah. So you could probably use another centerman. Now, in some worlds, Braden Coots may make this team. I hear you. I get it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure Ty Mueller fits as a centerman in the National Hockey League. We'll see. There's the big Russians, Safonov, who's going to vie in training camp. When I break it all down, a guy who can play the middle like Jenner, Lawton, Sissons, especially if they're on a contract that's flippable at the deadline. And the other thing we should say is you want the full salary to be flippable at the deadline. You only got 3 retention spots. They're using one on Tyler Myers this year. I think you can stomach a second one. Hell, you may have a second one gobbled up by this summer. We'll see. But so the cap hit doesn't matter. You're right, Blake, but you don't want to get to the point where teams are asking you to retain. And then Lauzon on the back end is a big physical guy too. I'm okay with that as well. Really, like any 1-year deals right now for the Canucks, I'm okay with. Especially if they have any kind of trade value. Yep.
Character part matters too, right? So they'd have to know ultimately who they think is the best of that group as a leader, the best of that group just as a person, all that sort of stuff. That's going to play heavily into this kind of a signing in particular, right?
Yep. Our buddy Irf Gafar was in here earlier, one half of the DFO Insider with David Pignotta. We had David on the program yesterday. He is part of the Big Nation Network Daily Face-Off free agent extravaganza tomorrow. And Irf said something pretty wise to me. He said, okay, the new Abbotsford general manager, Richard Seeley, and I saw him on the Global Morning Show. In fact, with a mascot, too. Does he go to the well that he knows well? And that is, of course, the Los Angeles Kings system and the Ontario Reign. And a couple of names to file away there. One is big, tough Jeff Malott. And if you think he's tough, you should meet his brother, Proper Mike Malott, the UFC fighter. We had Proper Mike on the show a couple of years ago, much to our Mike's delight, because Rogerson's such a big UFC guy. But Jeff Malott, and you see the player card there, those of you on visual mediums. First of all, look at the photo. He just looks so tough. My
Square
goodness.
jaw.
Square
Tail
jaw.
of the tape, 6'5", 215.
Honestly, this guy could be like an extra fighter pilot in the next Tom Cruise Top Gun movie. Look at that. And he's played 71 NHL games, 58 for the Kings last year. He got into 58 games.
Yeah.
And I love how our tough guys now, they don't crest 100 penalty minutes, Blake. We used to have guys cresting 300 penalty minutes. Like, you weren't a tough guy. If you were in the 200s, you were like a middleweight.
You were a fight per game, sometimes two. So
that's right. Exactly.
That would float you.
Yeah. 6'5",
but look at the point totals last year. Look at the point totals last year, Jeff.
Oh, AHL.
Jeff. I'm looking at Jeff a lot. Yeah,
he makes it happen in the AHL.
He's a hockey player.
Yes, he is. In the AHL, he makes it happen. 51 points in 61 games last year, 52 and 70 the previous year. That was with Manitoba when he was in the Jets system. And then the other name I'm told to file away is Jacob Muvrare, who is a 27-year-old Swedish left shot defenseman, 6'3", 205 pounds. He has played NHL games in 5 seasons for the Kings. He has been the ultimate up and down guy, 109 NHL games in total. He is not like super tough guy or anything like that, but he's sizable, 6'3", 205. So you wonder if a couple of those former Kings/Reign players might become an Abbey and be part of the Canucks depth this season. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. The Canucks offseason is upon us, and the rebuild mission gets real. Vancouver, as we have been saying, uniquely situated as a pure rebuilding team in a sea of wannabes and contenders, holding veteran players who should reap good returns given the paucity of quality free agents this year and a red-hot trade market. Hey, the Canucks sucked last year. They will suck this year, and they will probably suck the year thereafter. So acquiring young players and draft picks, that is the reward for fans to stay faithful during the tough times. We got Darren Dreger coming up on the program. He'll let you know what he's hearing on Elias Pettersson, Jacob DeBrusk. Preview, not a whole lot. Seems like the market's cooled a little. But Elliot Friedman has had a couple of comments about the Canucks this week that I think bears noting. First, he said, I'm interested in Vancouver this week. There isn't much left in free agency. Teams are going to need to trade for guys. Canucks have NHL players. Canucks are willing to take salary back. Doesn't have to be super studs back. Give them futures that can help. And he later said, I think Vancouver is motivated to move some of their guys. I don't even think the prices are ridiculously high.
That's good. That's good, Matt, because, you know, even with the moves that they made yesterday, the Gallagher and the Gallagher is not a rebuilding move at all. But even with the Nils Höglander trade and even with that 6th rounder for a 5th rounder trade, like, those aren't rebuilding moves in and of themselves. Like that doesn't, that's just hockey stuff. Like that's just what any team could have, you know, wanted to do what the Canucks did. The Canucks have not yet looked terribly rebuildy. This is their moment. And you know, people wanted to dunk on those that were criticizing the lack of moves to this point for the Vancouver Canucks. Well, it's because they haven't yet this administration shown any rebuild moves.
No. Garland and Myers were rebuild moves. Those were veteran players who had term.
This administration,
okay. All right. Fair.
So,
in fact, you could argue Höglander is the opposite of a rebuild move. That those are the sorts of players that you give opportunity to in a rebuild because they're mid-20s, they fit your timeline, they're not all that expensive, and if you can squeeze more juice out of them, either you get a player or you've got a better trade asset. But I hear you.
It's a hockey move, regardless. So I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the they and Elliott's intimation there that the prices aren't crazy, and that they're open for business. That's all good signs. That's all good signs because that.
Well,
that
I would like the prices to
it.
be. Yeah, I would like the prices to be crazy. The problem is, as we've discussed, you're dealing in limited marketplaces with all of them because there are no trade or no move clauses.
That's right.
The only one who seems open to a broad market is Jake DeBrusk, and because he would like to play with a contender. But we don't know that. Like, for all we know, DeBrusk could have limited them as well.
Yep.
I mean, contender in the West, I would have to think DeBrusk says yes, because those can all be attractive destinations, right? Like, who wouldn't want to join the Sharks or the Ducks right now?
Yeah.
Edmonton's his hometown, where his dad calls the games. McDavid, Draisaitl, twice a Western Conference champion until this past.
Sharks and Ducks aren't really contenders.
Utah
yet,
looks fun right now. Utah looks fun right now with what they're doing. Like Dallas, most of the West contenders, everybody seems to love Minnesota right now, are desirable places. So Colorado, hell, if you can take the chickpea pasta.
I think as you get older as a player, you start to think about, personal situation though too, livability. You've done the bouncing around a little bit. You want to think about your life a little bit, and I respect that. But I also think that the guys that haven't won a ton probably want to win a little bit. So
yep. So we'll see. I think if Ryan Johnson makes a fair trade for Jake DeBrusk, and look, there have been some pretty heady opinions about what DeBrusk can fetch in this market. Pinota has talked to us about a prospect and a second asset, or a late first-round pick and a second asset, or a second-round pick and a pretty good, second piece there. I think if Ryan Johnson makes a fair, good, but not great trade on Jake DeBrusk, I think for the most part the market would applaud that. Because I think the market wants to see roster turnover.
Yep.
If he makes a fair, good but not great trade of Elias Pettersson, as we know, there's a healthy decampment pro-PD and anti-PD amongst Canucks fans to begin with. But I think those who are in the middle, if there is much of a middle these days, I do think they would want to see. That's one where I think he can face a little public backlash, because it does seem like getting off the contract is a little more difficult than we would have hoped with a rising cap environment, right? The ideal scenario was, everybody has cap space, even $11.6 million worth of cap space for a second-line center. But it sounds like that's not the case. If you listen to the insiders, like Saravelli has said, their best chance to trade Petey was the draft. You'll hear what Dreger says with regards to how quiet it is around Petey. Pinota told us yesterday, second week in a row, look, does he have value? Are there interested teams? Yes, but the problem is 11.6. Everybody wants the Canucks to retain. And, you can retain, but as we talked about, if you're going to retain over 6 years, that's a lot of money. So it's got to juice the return to a significant level, right?
Now, the big jump next year might provide another signpost, but the player can't devolve further. That's the important thing. So if Elias Pettersson is back in camp this year and is at least a 60-point kind of a pace, I think the Canucks can kick the can down the road a little bit. And alternatively, if they need to play it out, there are a bunch of teams that have already publicly stated they don't want to, contenders have publicly stated, they want cap space all season long. They want plenty of cap space to be able to make moves mid-season. I mean, if Elias Pettersson comes in and has a good start to the season, maybe new options will unfold. That's a big if, and I know people will scoff at that, and he's not going to come back and have a good start, and I get why you'd have that attitude, but I do think that this file can continue on here through the start of the season, given teams are planning on carrying space into the start of the year.
Let's get to a super chat. Those of you on YouTube, that super chat button is always available to you. Hit it, make your donation. Half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation, and we'll make sure to get it read on the air. This is Tiger, who says, overpay Trouba $8 million for a year or two to keep teams honest. Sign Luke or Cole and send DPD and Mancini to the HL till they show we can't. Okay, and so
they can't keep up, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I looked at Jacob Trouba, and Jacob Trouba. I mean, you were just talking about how old those guys are in our poll question, Blake. Trouba will turn 33 late next season. He had a really nice bounce back year with the Ducks last year, a high scoring team, to be fair. So, not to speak of his defensive acumen, but 35 points in 81 games, 10 goals. This is coming off a 14-point season split between the Ducks and the Rangers. So, I mean, that's outstanding work at his age. Here's the problem with Jacob Trouba. I don't know if she's a doctor or a medical professional, but his wife's professional credentials aren't recognized in Canada. This is why he asked for the trade from Winnipeg years ago. I can remember talking to the agent back then, Kurt Overhart, who said it has nothing to do with Winnipeg and not wanting to be a Jet or anything. His wife wants to work and pursue her career, and that has to happen south of the line right now, or else she had to go on and do like multiple years of school to be credentialed in Canada. So I would highly doubt that Jacob Trouba is considering Canadian teams. I mean, unless something has happened there, I don't know. But the desire was to go to the United States, not because lower taxes or, he's MAGA America or anything like that, but because of his wife's career. That was back in 2018, 2019.
There was also some level of discord in that Ranger room with him around it. Like,
well, the Ranger,
I don't know if he was
the room sort of revolted because Drury started leaning on guys, including him, to waive the no trade clause.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know if he's at fault there. I just remember there was some drama there involving the Rangers, and he was in the mix, whether wittingly or unwittingly. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, until JT got there and fixed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Settled it all down.
Right. They got this, guys. Don't worry. They're going to score at home at some point. Can I throw something at you?
Sure.
Tell me if it sticks. So Carolina has not bought out, or I mean, I guess they have another hour and a half here. But Carolina has not bought out Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Has anything broken late there, like in the last 30 minutes or so? Okay. So Carolina has not bought out Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Of course, this is their last opportunity to buy him out at 1/3 value because he is so young. You typically buy players out at half. But he's just 25, so you can buy him out at 1/3. It's $4.8 million for 4 more years. He was a healthy scratch the entirety of the playoffs. They want off his money. We've talked about Carolina before. Like, there really aren't a lot of big files there. Now they've traded for John Carlson's rights. They're hoping to sign John Carlson. Apparently, the Hurricanes were one of the handful of teams he was going to consider in free agency. So perhaps the decision's going to be made for him. But Alexander Nikishin, their fine young Russian defenseman, just 24 years old, I mean, had a banger of a career in the KHL before coming over last year, had an excellent rookie season. Wasn't leaned on as much in the playoffs. He told Carolina, Dreger will explain this when he comes on, but he told Carolina that he was going to give them 1 year, see how he liked it, and that was sort of the deal with him coming over. He's an RFA. He's now apparently interested in winding up somewhere else. If you took Kotkaniemi's money off Carolina's hands and sent Pettersson, who we know they like, back the other way, and maybe you'd have to send more than just Pettersson, could you get Nikishin? Is that just way too big a game for what Elias brings to the table, even if you're taking an anchor contract with it?
I thought of this earlier this morning. The fact that it's unclear. I mean, you would need assurance that Nikishin's interested in signing with you.
Yes.
If Nikishin's of the mind,
you could pay him a lot of money, though, Blake. You could pay him an awful lot of money.
You could. It's about term, though, too. So, like, you could satisfy his itch in the short term, but is he willing to? Can you buy years of unrestricted free agency from him?
Even if you can't, like, he's a pliable asset going forward.
Yeah.
He's projected on a 6-year, $6.44 million deal by AFP Analytics. He wants like 8.5. Don't get me wrong, it was a very good first season in the NHL, but
it didn't blow
I do
the
wonder
doors
how many teams are gonna, like, if I'm the Canucks, I'd be like, I'll give you more than anybody else because you're a 24-year-old defenseman in our age range who could step
really
in and
nice. But in a season where we had like dozens of guys above 60 points that are defensemen, not dozens, but there was a lot of high-scoring defensemen last year in the NHL. I mean, he's not anywhere near that. So it would be an overpay.
Yeah, well, yes. Yes, you commit to overpaying him. You commit to overpaying him. And if it's on a shorter term deal because he doesn't, he wants to see how it works in Vancouver, fair enough. I mean, again, it's a player you can trade and get even more young assets back. Anyway, just thinking.
I'm almost of the mind, Matt, Nikishin a second and Kotkaniemi, and I'm interested.
Well, see, I'm like, I'll give you Pettersson and a second, and I'll take Nikishin, and I'll take the Kotkaniemi contract off your hands. I think the Canucks may have to add to Pettersson to land him, but we'll see. The other interesting situation that's out there, and look, I don't think Elias Pettersson qualifies as a star, and certainly not a superstar per se anymore. He has been an NHL All-Star. There is a track record there of production, and it just seems like the Seattle Kraken are not going to be able to attract pure superstars, true year-over-year all-stars. And so if that's the case and things continue to get uncomfortable for their general manager, Jason Botterill, and apparently Kraken PR was busy spreading the good word about players and how much they love Seattle and playing in Seattle this week as a way of sort of putting some deodorant on the Jason Robertson. I'm not signing there. Don't trade me there. I ain't signing there.
And they have a ton of cap space.
They have a ton of cap space, and they have these 3 young forwards, Shane Wright, and Jeff Merrick says Jake O'Brien, Caleb Malholtras, teammate with Brantford. Berkeley Catton, former Western hockey leader, first-round pick as well, Spokane. Apparently they are all available to land Seattle like frontline NHL players to make a playoff push and just get relevant in the market again. They're not relevant in the market right now. You've got a Super Bowl champion that's there. You got the NBA coming back. You had a team that got to the ALCS last year in baseball. Not to mention, as we know, it's a great soccer city. It's doing a bang-up job at the World Cup. Like, it is hard right now for the Kraken to get on the sports agenda down the I-5. Gosh, if any of those guys are available in any kind of Elias Pettersson trade, I am so interested.
Yep, you'd have to be if you're the Canucks.
Like,
from a Seattle
I'd do it
standpoint.
straight up for any one of those guys. Yeah, Wright for
Yep.
Pettersson, let's go. O'Brien for Pettersson, let's go. Catton for Pettersson, let's go.
Like Jake O'Brien's an 8th overall pick, though. Like
I know it. He's already in play, Blake, because they just can't attract star power any other way.
Yeah,
I would have to think one or two of these guys was involved in any kind of Jason Robertson trade.
and from a Pettersson standpoint, lifestyle doesn't change at all, right? It's pretty much
Right.
It's a similar enough city. Now there's
Except
there's
for there's
courage
less
of conviction thing.
There's
Courage
less
of conviction thing here for the Twins, because they're going to look at that and go, "Oh, we're going to see a lot of Elias Pettersson. He better remain the player that we see now, otherwise we're going to be sorry." There's a risk level there.
Yeah.
But
Pettersson would do great in Seattle. It's effectively the same city. It's got a much worse downtown waterfront because we prioritize.
there is no downtown waterfront, really.
Well, that's it. We prioritized people. For our downtown waterfront, they prioritized industry and a kitschy tourist strip. But hey, who doesn't like Pike Place? And no one will know he's a hockey player. So
and a lot smaller media contingent.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be answering questions.
No, people
like
aren't
he
going
is
to
here.
Exactly. People aren't going to say, "Why is he shooting the puck? What happened to his one-timer?" And then the last name I want to bring up here in terms of young talent that's available, this is most interesting. The Minnesota Wild did not tender a qualifying offer to Bobby Brink. And Michael Russo there reports they didn't do that because they feared arbitration and a potential $4 million award coming out of arbitration. So they're working to sign him today before he can become a free agent tomorrow. And you see the Jay Fresh hockey card there. And when Jay Fresh put out that tweet, he said, they must have a long-term deal in place with Bobby Brink because, why else wouldn't you qualify him? Split last year between Philadelphia and Minnesota, 15 goals, 30 points. He had 41 points the previous year. He is still he'll be 25 in July, 34th overall pick in 2019. Don't get me wrong, he's not a godsend or anything like that, but that's a player that fits the Canucks age range, right? 24 going on 25. Young player in the league.
Good hockey name. Good hockey name.
That's just incredible hockey name.
Yeah.
But, has had a degree of success in the NHL, and, you would have opportunity for him. So that's an interesting one. And I would bet that there's a lot of teams doing homework right now on Brink because they figured, he's not going to be available. He's an RFA. They'll QO him. No, they didn't. Ron Johnson, we mentioned him earlier. What's he looking for in free agency? He met the media yesterday, and he said this.
I like stiffness by committee and not through one person or one line. And I think stiffness are hard to play against is contagious. When one commits to it, it usually ends up trickling down throughout the lines or even into guys that you wouldn't necessarily think are stiff players, but that doesn't mean that's not fighting but playing through hands and winning puck battles. And sometimes that is an element of stiffness. So I do want to be harder to play against. I think with the addition today, obviously Brendan is extremely difficult to play against. He plays an inside game. And if I can tweak a few smaller things to continue that trend, I will. But like I've said, I'm not trying to make this a speedy process. I'm trying to be diligent. I'm trying to be calculated and strategic with everything I'm doing. And if it doesn't happen overnight, that's okay. I want to do it the right way as opposed to race into it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. Stiffness by committee. He would go on to say that he's big on role definition, and that's why Nils Höglander is no longer a Vancouver Canuck, that he didn't think there was a specific role there for Höglander. As we've talked about it does sound like they're going to add some sort of tough guy in free agency. Doesn't sound like that will be Curtis Douglas, but will it be Jeff Malott or someone like of that? We'll hear more from RJ here in a bit, but first, busy day already in the National Hockey League. Our old friend Jacob Markstrom is on the move again and back from whence he came. Traded years ago from the Florida Panthers to the Vancouver Canucks for Roberto Luongo. Now Panthers AGM Roberto Luongo is part of the management team acquiring Jacob Markstrom from the New Jersey Devils, along with my new friend Angus Crookshank. I just met him last week. Told the story yesterday. He's the Devil. Now he's a Panther. I texted with him this morning. Go win a cup. Great organization. In exchange for Evan Rodriguez, Jesper Boquist, and Ben Steeves. So Florida gets its goaltender. It is not Sergei Bobrovsky. Apparently Bobrovsky just wasn't going to play ball on the money. You know, he saw Marchand get paid. He saw others get paid there in Florida. He saw, they'll pay me too. Bennett, no. So Bobrovsky,
I hope Jacob still got some game left. He has not had a great run here in the last couple of years. He's had injuries as well, and I hope the summer heat treats his body better, because it'd be a good story for him to go all the way around and end up winning a cup with the Panthers.
I mean, was once the best goaltending prospect in the world with the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. I mean, beyond that, even when he was an AHLer, a lot of people said best goalie not in the NHL.
In the NHL.
Period.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then he had some struggles, and Florida gave up on him, and his career took off here in Vancouver. Great years in Calgary, and since Jersey, another trade, Caden Korczak traded by the Vegas Golden Knights to Pittsburgh for Surrey's Parker Witherspoon at 50% retention. Parker Witherspoon's another guy I know here in town. Blake? Because I played golf with him. I played golf with him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gotta say, and we mentioned it towards the end of last year. Well done, Parker Witherspoon. Blake, 28 years old, and played his first full NHL season. Got 80 games in with the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, scored 30 points in those 80 games. He had played 55 and 41 the previous 2 years with Boston, so it was kind of like a part-time NHL player. Yeah. He was an every-night NHL player for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I suspect he will be an every-night player for the Vegas Golden Knights after they acquire him. As we know, Vegas is one of the few teams that has some cap issues, and so if they're acquiring a guy like that, it's with the purposes of using him. Korczak was a every-night NHLer for them last year, a one-time WHL player with the Kelowna Rockets. So the deals are coming. And, of course, more to come tomorrow when free agency begins in the National Hockey League. And we will encourage you, before you watch Sekeres and Price, because we know you're tuning in at noon, to check out our friends at the Daily Face-Off, your destination for every move. Jeff Merrick, Tyler Yaremchuk, Carter Hutton, David Pagnotta, live in studio. Gafar going to participate July 1st. That's tomorrow. Daily Face-Off free agency special. The live coverage starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time on the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel and socials. A stream also available on Puckpedia. Hart Levine of Puckpedia, who, of course, does such a great job on the contract side of things. Don't miss a second of the action. Mike wanted me to get this in desperately. Mike saw the moves from the Buffalo Sabres today and said, every single one of them has a Canuck or a BC connection. We got to get this in the show. Okay, bring it up, Mike. See what the Sabres did today, Blake? I mean, this has got so much ex-Canucks and BC content that Ryan Johnson and the Twins are jealous. They're like, wait a second, there's another team allowed to hire ex-Canucks and British Columbians? Neil Komodowski was a 16-year pro scout for the Vancouver Canucks, who has now moved over as assistant director of pro scouting to the Sabres. Milan Lucic, Vancouver guy, Vancouver Giant, won a Memorial Cup. Ex-Canuck Derek Dorsett, hired as a forward development coach. really enjoyed our time talking to Dorsett back in the day. It's a damn shame what happened to him with the injury. Talk about stiff players, Blake. My goodness, when this guy was healthy, whoo-hoo. I mean, hated the contract they gave them, Benning gave him, but quite liked the player and what he did for the Canucks. And then going way back, Jarkko Ruutu, ex-Canuck and European development coach. Look at Jarmo Kekalainen loading up on Canucks and Vancouver guys.
Stacey Roos, a hell of a guy too. He's been a GM at the Spangler before. I've had a lot of chats with him. He's a good guy.
Yep. Good guy.
Good guy. Good hockey guy.
Yeah. My brother said to me years ago when I first started covering the sport, he's like, how come all the conversation around hockey, like everyone's a good guy in hockey? I'm like, yeah, that's how hockey sort of works. You know, like, oh, he's been charged with assaulting his wife and this and that. But he's a good guy.
Well, that might be disqualified.
No, but I mean, that's how hockey used to work. Oh, it's really terrible that the police came down on so-and-so because, you know, he's a good guy.
GG per 60. Good guy per 60.
Yeah, good guys for very high. Good guys for 60.
Yeah.
And Blake, we can only hope, and Mike, this predated your sports media career. We can only hope that this week replicates that week or that day we had 10 years ago yesterday when Goliath deals went down in a matter of hours. Blake and I were on the air at the old station when word broke that the Nashville Predators were trading Norris Trophy winning defenseman PK Subban to the Montreal Canadiens for other way around. The Montreal Canadiens were trading Norris Trophy winning defenseman PK Subban to the Nashville Predators for franchise cornerstone Shea Weber. Do you remember how earth shook we were? We're like, wait a second. You're kidding me. Subban for Weber straight up? Then Steven Stamkos signed his gigantic deal. Remember, he was marching towards free agency. We're sitting there going, is Steven Stamkos going to get to free agency? We had one caller who wanted to trade the Twins to Tampa for Jonathan Drouin and Stamkos. And then we weren't done. Oh, no, we weren't done. Because then came the deal that sent Oilers Nation into a tizzy. Because surely, Blake, if they were trading their first overall golden boy Taylor Hall for defensive help, they were getting a haul, right? It's like, oh, Adam Larson is involved in the deal. Oh, who else? Who else are we getting from Jersey? Bob McKenzie. The trade is 1-for-1. And Oilers fans nice lost their shit on social media.
A nice defenseman.
Really good defenseman.
A Hart Trophy candidate.
Yeah. They were so poor defensively. And Larson was a very high pick and a very good defensive defenseman, still plays in the league.
But he was just he's a nice defenseman. He's a good guy.
If you stretch, he was a top pair defensive shutdown right shot guy. Okay. They're valuable.
Top pair? I don't know.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Number 3.
And Bob McKenzie, the trade is 1-for-1.
Stop looking for others things. You will not find them.
Oh, did we have
There are no more droids to look for.
You know, our show wasn't very much about poking fun at other teams and fan bases all that much, but we hammered down on Edmonton and the Oilers that day. We had to.
Yeah.
The theater was just delicious.
There's not a lot of schadenfreude left in the NHL other than the Leafs and the Oilers, but
that's right.
The force is still strong.
Well, others would say maybe the Canucks.
Well, yeah, the other direction.
We do a lot of out-of-market interviews.
We provide the schadenfreude now.
What the hell is going on in Vancouver, says the host in Fill in the City, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto. Yeah. What's in the water out there?
Chad is saying Taylor Hall has more cups than McDavid. So,
yeah, Taylor Hall has a cup now. Attaboy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good on him. Yellow Dog, what's up there?
Yellow Dog's got some great sales for the month of July that will keep you happy and the thirst quenched, like Neighborhood Brewing's Way of Life Hazy IPA. That's a great summer beer. 4-packs, tall cans on special for the month of July. Look for it on sale at your private and government liquor stores.
I had a decent round on the golf course yesterday, so I came home and I rewarded myself with a Play Dead IPA.
Wow. Nice.
That's
Nice.
a big
Good for
beer.
you.
Wow. Brendan Gallagher met the Vancouver media yesterday upon the trade that brings him home, the former Vancouver Giant. More on them in a second. And Tsawwassen resident, brought in to be the adult in the room, the leader of the rebuild movement. He said he'd like to play 15 minutes a night. He was 12 and change last year, but he knows that's got to be earned. He said he plans on playing beyond this coming season and that he's got plenty left in the tank. Here's Gally. He's a good guy.
See, I got plenty left in the tank. I'm not too concerned about that. Obviously, here in Montreal, couldn't have been happier with my experience, but it just had to come to an end. And for me, I had to go to a place where I was going to find an opportunity and an opportunity to be what I need to be as a player. And certainly, I want to play beyond the season, but my focus, like it was year one, is just have a good year, have a good season. The rest will take care of itself. So that's what I'm working towards. You take care of yourself in the summer, and I'm not worried about that. I know that I'm putting in a good summer here, and like I said, I'm very excited for the opportunity and getting to work there with the guys.
Good summer for a good guy.
And I've got no doubt in my mind he is going to be as prepared as he possibly can be.
For sure.
To be the best player that he can be.
For sure.
And I'm interested to see what that looks like, honestly. And the best case scenario for this storyline is he plays really well. He becomes a tradable asset.
Yep.
The Canucks say, can we? He says, yes, you may. They get something back for it. And he comes on right back to the Canucks. And I know, folks, it rarely happens where that works. But for a hometown guy that really handpicked the Canucks to come back to right now, I think he'd be a candidate for that boomerang effect where he could be traded elsewhere and then re-sign with the Canucks.
That is, I would agree with you, the ideal scenario. I would guess scenario B would be you just move him on and he signs elsewhere because he gets the contention bug again, but you get an asset for him. And then let me open up door number 3, Blake. He becomes so invaluable to culture and as a leader for the young guys that he takes a hometown discount 1-year deal and he plays his 1,000th NHL game with the Canucks, not this season, but the year thereafter.
And we know hockey players are emotional. They get attached to ideas like that, where I want to play my 1,000th game in this uniform. So, yes, I'll play for $1.5 million next year, what have you. That's completely possible,
Blake,
too.
There was a former Vancouver Giant who got attached to that idea last year and got traded to the Canucks,
Yes.
you may remember.
Yes.
I have a feeling Brendan Gallagher would be a bigger celebration than Evander Kane amongst local hockey fans.
I think so, too.
And the other thing, like we've been talking to Gallagher and listening to Gallagher his whole career, going back to the Giants. The kid just secretes professionalism. Like everything about him is professional. And he's been through a rebuild in Montreal. And he's got tips there too. Here's Gally.
I think one of the most important things we did that sometimes gets overlooked, obviously, you had good players, but in terms of culture, I think we created a really good culture here. And that comes from your darkest days and having guys that want to be around and are committed to the process, believe in the process. And, I think that's really important. And any organization, whether it's sport or anything, I think is nothing without culture. And I think first and foremost, I think, that'll be the focus. And I think that's something that I can help out with. So I'm looking forward to that. And, obviously, haven't been through it. You know how important it is. So I'm, a little bit of experience there for sure.
Yeah, I have no doubt he can contribute to the culture. And, of course, we all know the Canucks culture has to change every top down. One of the most corrosive cultures in the National Hockey League, in the Big Four sports leagues.
It's one thing to trade for a guy like this, Matt, and hope that it pans out. The fact that he handpicked and willingly said, I will go to this bottomed out, 32nd place with a bullet team. I want to go there. I mean, it says a lot.
But we've talked about it, Blake. BC people yearn for home like no other people I've been around. Like I have plenty of friends from Montreal and Toronto who don't feel that pull to get back home like British Columbians do. And it's because just look around, right?
Yep.
I think I've told you this, but I had a professor at Carleton University who used to say, I can pretty much guarantee you by the end of second year, every single BC student has been in my office asking me for, professional advice and where they can work to get back to the coast. And we used to always laugh about it, right? Because the Saskatchewan kids were not doing that. The, Maritime kids were not doing that. But oh man, the BC kids, they were absolutely doing that.
After I went through Global Saskatoon, and then Ryan Rashog filled my shoes at Global Saskatoon, and then he left, they had a rule: no more BC folk.
Yeah.
They knew that we would be there for a short amount of time.
I know teams in the CFL, Blake, that when they would get to draft day, they would go, okay, first of all, you prefer getting a guy, hometown, because then they don't have to set up two residences, and that's a significant financial difference in the CFL. But if you couldn't get the hometown guy, boy, you sort of wanted to avoid the BC guy because you knew he'd be 2 to 3 years and then want to sign with the Lions.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Ryan Johnson on adding Brendan Gallagher.
Anytime somebody really wants to be in your organization, it's hard not to love the idea of it. Then when you look at someone like Brendan with his experience, the passion that he plays the game with, where we are at as a group, like I feel Brendan feels like he's got a lot of hockey left in him and a lot to prove off of maybe a little bit of a frustrating year for him. I think he's going to come in here kicking and screaming, going to be very great. You hear me talk a lot about professionalism and quality of teammate. And I mean, is there anybody that checks the box more than this guy? So my discussion with him this morning, he is ecstatic. We are over the moon to have him. He's talking about just doing anything he can to help where we are at and help us grow. And I think the common word he kept on using was build. And that's what we're doing here, is trying to build something, an environment that is strong and that is sustainable. And he's going to be a massive piece of that.
Ryan,
you notice the halo around Ryan Johnson? Do you see that halo in that picture above his head? It's saintly.
He looks tired. He sounds tired. First few weeks on the job, when you've had as much going on as he has, I would bet he can't wait until tomorrow is over and maybe get a good night's sleep for the first time in a while.
Can you imagine how many people he's spoken to? Hiring all these assistants. He's got the staffs of both benches to hire still.
We're not going to play the clip, but at one point yesterday, he talked about how so many ex-Canucks, like Canucks alumni, have reached out. How heartwarming he's found that. There's so many people who still care deeply about the franchise. In some cases, people who don't live anywhere close to Vancouver or BC anymore. Even talking about going for a lunch or a coffee with Berkey and spending an hour with like Brian was up here, and telling him everything that the Canucks meant to him and the Canucks. So, I mean, awesome. Really love that. Really love the passion and the deep sense of purpose and care that the folks at the top of the organization have now for the market, for the province, for the club, as we talked about in the past. I mean, Rutherford and Alvin were mercenaries. That was clear from day one. These guys bleed the colors. And speaking of bleeding the colors, Manny Malhotra. Been a Canucks player, been a Canucks assistant coach, been the head coach of the AHL Calder Cup winning Abbotsford Canucks. And he wore Habs colors too, right at the end of his career, where he crossed paths with a much younger Brendan Gallagher. Here's Gally on Manny.
Manny was an awesome teammate. He stepped into our group there in Montreal, and I was a young player, and he was eager to share his knowledge, whether it be face-offs, which he was as good as anyone with young players and grabbing guys, or just on the road, if he saw a guy was struggling, he'd just pull you aside and have a chat. So it was, Manny was a great teammate. He's was a pleasure to play with him, and I'm very looking forward to playing for him. And a guy that I'm sure everyone will be excited to go to battle for.
Yeah, when you find an ex-teammate of Manny Malhotra who says anything but he was a great teammate, he'd be the first. I mean, it's just universal. Like, it's not the platitude good guy thing. No. It's real when people talk about Manny. Speaking of Manny and his pathway, development camp starts today in Abbotsford. The Canucks released the roster yesterday. 17 forwards, 5 defensemen, 3 goalies. Caleb Malhotra is there. Braden Coots is there. Adam Novotny's there. Brooks Rogowski's there. Nicholas Aram Olsen's there. Alexei Medvedev, the goaltending second-round pick from last year. They're all there. 7 of the 9 draft picks attend, all but Russian goalie Dmitry Ivchenko, who's under contract over there in Russia. The big Belarusian winger Yaroslav Brizgalov also missing it.
This is interesting because they didn't used to allow NCAA guys at these dev camps, but I think that with the NCAA rule changes, I think they're okay with it now.
You get paid now. Name, image, and likeness. You can get paid now. We have Adam Novotny footage here. Yeah, this is Tyson Cole. He's out there for Canucks Army and the Blackfish podcast. Putting them through paces. They don't actually have they don't actually have a coaching staff at Abbey yet.
No.
Surrey's Jen Gardner was participating as a coach from the Vancouver Goldeneyes. Anyways, and speaking of prospects, if you're not already familiar, do so with the name Nazar Privalov. Nazar Privalov is a gigantic Russian forward who has put up ridiculous totals in the Russian Junior League. He is the one guy, maybe Alexei Joseph, the big centerman from St. John. They might be the only 2 guys capable of pushing, even in the slightest, Landon DuPont for the first overall selection next year, and we do anticipate the Canucks are going to have a very high selection next year. Yesterday, the reporting here from Dylan Griffin of Elite Prospects, Privalov has signed a long-term contract with CSKA Moskva. Follow
CSKA
Moskva.
Yeah.
Down to Gorky Park, listening to the wind.
Okay.
Blake knows how I feel about the Scorpions and the Wind of Change. I mean, just an iconic song. They played a gig in Moscow, Mike, and they recognized the young people, the students, were ready to overthrow the Soviet Union and communism. And they knew this because, of course, they were a German band whose music had broken through to East Germany behind the Iron Curtain. And so they knew, they felt that wind of change. So he's on the Kirill Kaprizov. Don't look at me like that. He's on the Kirill Kaprizov, like, spent a lot of years in Russia before you come over. At least for now, as we know, everything is a little bit negotiable in Russia if you have the right money.
Yes. Yeah. Davidov's an example of that. He changed the schedule quickly.
Yeah. You just meet a guy in Gorky Park with a bag of cash, and then suddenly Privalov is out of contract. It's the damnedest thing. Canucks announced they will not qualify 5 players, among them P.O. Joseph. We knew that. Nils Aman. You can remember the first shift Nils Aman had in Young Stars and Penticton. Blake, you remember that? We were down in the neighborhood section with all the neighborhood brewing guys. And we're like, that one looks a little different. Sure did. Made it in the NHL for a little bit as a penalty killer, 4th liner for the Canucks. Chase Stillman, not so much. And Danila Klimovich, upon request, will be moving on from the Vancouver Canucks organization. I know, Blake. Oh.
I always held out hope that he would blossom.
I know. Almost should have taken Stankoven. Dave Hall.
Take me to the magic of the moment.
On a Belarusian night.
Yes.
Minsk.
I don't feel any more Junos coming on
no,
today.
there will not be any Junos.
Your Junos are done. Your Junos are done.
Yeah, don't bother with the nomination paperwork. Dave Hall says, I'm a little shocked to see Chase Stillman on the list. He had a tough year with a broken leg, but had his moments in his return. Hard worker with a decent shot and a one-time first-round pick, too. He said the writing was on the wall for Danila.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're insisting on that pronunciation. Okay, if you say so. We got to talk about this story, just in closing. The Vancouver Giants, who once upon a time were selling out the Pacific Coliseum, winning Memorial Cups, and held up as one of the beacon flagship franchises in junior hockey. In fact, Blake, I can remember moving here, and the story was that junior hockey in the big cities was back. You had the Giants kicking ass at the Coliseum. You had the 67s playing in a big rink in Ottawa. Then came the Calgary Hitmen, the Edmonton Oil Kings. I might be getting my years mixed up.
The Winnipeg Ice.
Right. All of a sudden, it was like, junior hockey can work in the big cities. There's a good niche there. There's a good price point. It's going to be a hit. Well, then things weren't working as well at the Coliseum. They moved to the Langley Events Center. Now, they have agreed to be the new anchor tenant at the 10,000-seat Surrey City Centre Arena. That was announced today. There's Mayor Locke. There's Ronnie Toigo, the principal owner of the Vancouver Giants, a 2030 projected first season of hockey there for the Giants. So,
which is actually not that far away. 3.5 years is not that far.
No. Do you think that's
and again,
a good move
we've
for
talked
them?
about this. We've talked about this from the story's perspective as well. It also has major implications for the Lions as it impacts their practice facility greatly. It's a risk for the Giants. The Giants have to commit wholeheartedly, I'm sure they would tell you that they've been committed to winning up until this point as well. But they can't have games with 2,000 people in a 10,000 seat arena. It will look terrible. And and we've talked about this with other franchises. Good atmospheres beget good atmospheres. And so you can't expect people to want to come back if there's 2,000 people in a 10,000 seat arena. Winning will get people in there, and they need to keep it.
That has got to be a very affordable ticket with very affordable concessions. Yeah, you're in a more densely populated era. Public transit better. Great. Have at her. But don't overstep what you are. If you think, we're in a new arena and everybody's going to want to come and spend a lot of money to go see
they won't.
It's still Surrey City Arena. It is not the NHL. It is not a 20,000 seat barn. Mike says we got another super chat here that he wants to get to. Oh, it's the same guy, Tiger. EP40
keeps
in
paying
8
for
years
it.
with the Canucks, 6 years a point per game or better, and a 100-point year Selke candidate. 2 years at roughly 0.7 PPG, amped up hits and blocks per game. This is a stud. If we trade him, he earned a decent return on investment. Well, we'll see. I mean, I do think they're motivated to trade him. I do think they don't see him as.
But Tiger, it's market demand. You can trot out all those stats all you want.
Yeah.
If
it's
31 other
$11.6 million.
in the NHL,
it's a bad contract. It's one of the worst contracts right now in the NHL. It's just that simple. As you'll hear from Dreger here, Edmonton's having trouble trading Darnell Nurse. Now, a lot of that is because it's a limited market of 3 teams, but it's also because the Darnell Nurse contract is not desirable. He's a decent player, but he's not earning what he makes. Morgan Riley's a decent player of West Vancouver. Don't get me wrong. He's not at the height of his career anymore. He's making a healthy ticket. Those contracts are still, they're easier to move, but that doesn't mean that they are head and shoulders more desirable for acquiring teams. Now, I do think still there's a pathway to make a good Pettersson trade. I think it's going to take a lot of skill, a lot of aptitude, a lot of silver tongue, a lot of marketing, a lot of playing however many suitors you can bring to the table against each other. It's going to be a great test of Ryan Johnson as a first-time and new general manager. And yes, there is a case for keeping him around. But again, I think the Twins and Johnson are weighing what that guy in the room can do to the overall project and the example he sets or doesn't set with young players. Unless that changes, I think they got to be proactive on that file. Okay, let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta. Fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You're a mere steps from the arena or the stadium. And if you're planning a private event, Greta is your spot. Your guests will absolutely adore the arcade that encircles the bar. You've got the participatory games like Pop-A-Shot. You can play electronic Twister there. Plus, you got the old school video games. You got the racing simulator games. It is just oodles of fun. You have your own dedicated bar at the back private riser, so you get your drinks quickly, surrounded by screens and a delicious street food menu. The poutine is absolutely decadent. It will feed two. For more info, to book your reservation, go to gretabar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Aforementioned Darren Dreger coming up on Pedersen, on DeBrusque, on Nikishin, on Seattle, on LA, on the market. Cam Robinson going to join us after his weekend at the draft. We'll talk decentralized draft. We'll talk Nils Höglander. We'll talk about molding young players with Brendan Gallagher. We'll talk EP40. We'll talk Luke Shen. And how the Canucks did at the draft. And then we'll be joined by Vancouver Canadian Tucker Toman. He has been a Northwest League Player of the Week this year. He comes from a baseball family. He's a high draft pick of the Blue Jays, second season in Vancouver, and they're about to kick off a 2-week homestand here tonight. Sold out Tuesday night, 75-cent hot dog game at the Nat. Later in the show, we'll talk World Cup. Canada has an opponent now in the round of 16. Thy name is Morocco. We'll talk some Whitecaps. We'll talk some Lions. We'll talk some NBA and LeBron changing teams, some baseball where Bo Bichette got teary-eyed. Big, big show. Lots happening here today. Oh, Wimbledon too. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Blake, I did it again. I got another World Cup winner yesterday. I was on the Morocco-Netherlands draw, like at the death, plus 210, ka-ching, did it again. In fact, my summer budget right now relies on this World Cup betting. We have been so hot.
Oh, really?
Oh, we're 8-3. And every single winner, with the exception of Canada Sunday, was plus money. We weren't laying money. We were getting money. So, Blake, I'm sticking with the World Cup, and I'm going to the game this evening. And I'm going to the game this evening because I think I have a pretty good handle on the first big upset of a host nation. Perdón, Mexico, pero me amo, Ecuador. After that thrilling, down to the wire result over Germany to end the group stage, gimme La Tricolor to keep the vibes rolling with their 80s hair metal coach. Have you seen the Ecuadorian coach? The guy looks like he could front an 80s hair metal band. He's awesome. The passion, the emotion. He's pacing the sidelines like a maniac, the touchline like a maniac. Ecuador paying plus 290.
There should be a coach's bracket because there's a lot of really interesting looks in the coaches ranks. That Moroccan coach has got a good look going on.
He sure does.
The replacement Tunisian coach. The former Saudi coach. Oh my God.
Male model.
Looks like a French porn
star. He
star.
looks like he walked out of Zoolander. It's unbelievable.
Hervé Leonard. I got a win last night as well, thanks to Diallo. More on him coming up.
That's nice.
I'm looking at golf this weekend. That's nice. Oh, he's talking down to me now. John Deere Classic doesn't have many big names, which means a guy who's had a really nice season, Taylor Pendrith, has got a good chance to make money. And that's all I need from him. A top 20 is all I need on Taylor Pendrith. This almost feels unfair to make this bet. He's been that consistent. Plus 230. Plus 230 on Taylor Pendrith. Just getting into the top 20. I think he can do it.
The worst thing about hockey season is that at some point every year it just ends, and there's a lot of time between now and the first puck drop of next year. It feels like an eternity for those of us who are accustomed to watching games nightly. The good news, Bet365 still has plenty of games, just none that require you to lace up skates. At Bet365 Casino, you can choose between hundreds of slots, live tables, and your favorite games. Well, maybe your second favorite game must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Darren Dreger, next. Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center. We welcome in TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. He'll be in rural Manitoba by the end of the week at the cabin. Is it a cottage in Manitoba? Where are they on the cabin cottage dichotomy in this country, Dregs?
Well, it would normally be called a cabin out west. Some would call it a camp, but it's not that. And because our kids were born and raised in Ontario, we've morphed cabin and cottage, so we call it the cabbage. That's how we affectionately.
Right.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's
You've told us that
that's how
before.
we've labeled. But it's a 4-season cabin is what it is. So I always think, look, when I think of cabin, like I grew up in hunting shacks, on the prairies where they are literally made out of spruce trees. Like that's a cabin to me. What I have is not a cabin. So.
Right. Yeah, like a cottage has some degree of appointment to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it maybe even has a mowed lawn, for heaven's sakes. Whereas
I have lawn I have to mow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Well, drive safely on your route there this summer. Okay, let's talk Canucks here, heading into free agency tomorrow, and more so the trade market, Dregs. It was fun to watch all the trade activity last week and through the draft. It's a very hot market. It's a seller's market. And the Vancouver Canucks are one of the only rebuilding teams out there. We saw they made the moves yesterday with Höglander and Gallagher, but can't help think there isn't more to take advantage of here with all these teams busy buying up talent.
Well, I mean, it's safe to assume that Ryan Johnson and management of the Vancouver Canucks are eagerly waiting, and they're open for business, as they would be and they should be. But what is not unique, but it is different about this group is you've got a group that is somewhat inexperienced. Certainly Ryan as that general manager in the National Hockey League. So being very careful and mindful of what is dispensed to the public prematurely. Right. So he's not going to show his hand entirely as to what they're willing to do. But we talk to a lot of teams. We talk to a lot of agents around the National Hockey League. And there's a genuine sense that there is a willingness to do more, if not a lot more. And, where do you want to start with that? They're not interested in moving good, young, developing players. Why would they be? Right. I mean, that would be contrary to the direction that they're going in. But the usual suspects, names that you guys have talked about here on the show for a number of days, if not weeks now, are similar to the names that we would be hearing across the NHL. But I do not get the sense, and I qualify every single time, that things change with a simple phone call, especially this time of year. I don't get the sense that Ryan is close to anything that I would deem to be significant. Now, the Brendan Gallagher trade, I spoke about this. I reported on it early last week, and that was of no surprise to anybody, right? I think, frankly, Montreal was a bit annoyed that information got out because Montreal, even though this was a legacy trade, right? It was. I mean, the information I got when I was poking around yesterday, well, what are you getting back for what are you getting back for Gallagher? And I got a note that said Freddie Charles. I'm like, Freddie Charles? And then it dawned on me, Okay. Somebody once said this to me a long time ago. FC, future considerations. Freddie Charles.
Freddie Charles. I love it. Very
So
good.
I went, okay, here we go. So that took the better part of a week. Now, granted, there was a draft in between to get that deal done, but the Canadians do right by Gallagher. Gallagher will be a nice ad for the Vancouver Canucks from an experience perspective. He still has some game left, but I think that the door is open for Ryan to do more than he's done already.
There doesn't seem to be many obvious overpaid veterans out there that the Canucks could even trade for to get some assets as well. Like I think of Jonathan Drouin, but the Blues don't want to. They're rebuilding too. They don't want to give up any assets, so they just buy him out instead.
Right.
And then the other ones have got such a hefty price tag and still term in Darnell Nurse and Morgan Riley. And they probably don't want to block any defensive slotting as well when they try to get these young players some playing time. So there's not an obvious choice for the Canucks right there, is it?
Not quite, Blake, but one thing I'm reminded of on a weekly basis now with the cap going up is that you are going to see the gap between the cap teams and the non-cap teams will widen. And there will be some teams that, could use a beefier contract to help them get past the floor, the salary cap floor. And in saying all of that, this year has been a little bit unique because Vancouver truly is the only really rebuilding team, isn't it? Normally this time of year going into the draft, you're looking at maybe as much as a third of the National Hockey League that's embracing some form of significant renovation, if not a rebuild. And this year that really hasn't been the case. And I think that that's why we've seen so many legitimate hockey trades. So teams are out there and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to pick Buddy's pocket. He's selling off assets because there isn't a whole lot of that. And that may have gummed up Ryan Johnson and the Vancouver Canucks as well, right? If you can get a better player for the same type of contract and you're willing to make a legitimate hockey deal to do that, which we've seen a number of in the last 10 days, and why wouldn't you do that instead of taking on a contract for draft picks or a prospect, which is probably what Ryan Johnson and the Vancouver Canucks are looking for?
What's the latest on Patterson as you know it, Grace?
Crickets. Yeah, pretty quiet. And that's not a shocker or surprise to any of us, is it? That's one where the Canucks are going to have to eat a pile of money to encourage somebody to engage. And I'm not saying that they're unwilling to do that, but as far as my sources are, and they're good on this file, that side, the player side, has not been brought anything from the Vancouver Canucks that even remotely describes a level of interest from one team, two teams, or any team for that matter. So if that happens, then that takes that conversation and possibility into a different stratosphere. But so far, it is quiet there.
Same question on Jake DeBrusk.
Yeah. I mean, I heard his name a little bit more around the middle of the month. And that, again, isn't unusual. You're getting to the end of the Stanley Cup final at that point. Everybody's starting to grind in preparation, for the draft and free agency, where we're at and all of that. And to be honest, I haven't heard that name mentioned to me by another team or a hockey exec. Everything that I've read on Jake DeBrusk has come from social media or from a stream of media. And, look, again, Jake is a decent player. He hasn't turned out to be what the Vancouver Canucks were hoping. But when he was brought in, the Vancouver Canucks were a completely different team than the team that they finished with last year, obviously, or the team that they are right now. So, I put him into that category of, Marchman's different because of his contract, where he's at the end of the deal. But, if you're looking for a hard-working, gritty type of forward, if DeBrusk can bring that game more consistently than he has, then I think that there's a market for him. But I'm being brutally honest here. His name would be in a pool of names that you go, yeah, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised, but nothing at this stage, it seems front burner.
On the Elias file, has the willingness from the player side of things increased, changed, that you think that they would be more amenable to a deal?
Well, again, it's a tough question to answer because the player and the agent, JP Barry Paperson, would go, well, bring us a deal and we'll let you know whether or not we're interested.
Yeah.
Why
Very
would we
by
clog
case,
up? Yeah, why would we clog up the world of Elias Pettersson if we don't have to? Let this guy focus on his training. Let him enjoy his summer. If you have something that is material that we can take to him, okay, we'll do that. But we're not going to pick apart at his mental health at this point unless there's a reason to do that. And again, as of, say, an hour ago, there just wasn't that reason.
There's some interesting young players apparently on the trade market, Dregs. Let's start down the I-5 in Seattle, where we've long known about Shane Wright, but there were reports this week. Jake O'Brien, Berkeley Catton, there are 3 first-round draft pick forwards, all available for the right superstar. Boy, they really are hunting this superstar, the Kraken are.
Yeah,
huh?
Yeah, you kind of feel bad for Seattle, or at least I do, because again, I don't cheer for any one team, but it's not been through a lack of effort or trying by Jason Botterill and before that, Ronnie Francis to find some key pieces to turn this team around and get them over the hump. They're desperate for it. I mean, desperate for it. And how desperate? Well, they were willing to pay Jason Robertson more than $15 million per year on an 8-year contract deal. And he pushed away from it, primarily because he doesn't see the Seattle Kraken being a contending team anytime soon. So for me, with the names that you mentioned, Matt, Shane Wright's name has been out there for a while, but you always get into that world of semantics. Is Botterill or Seattle shopping these players, or are they willing to listen? And it is a game of semantics. If you're willing to part with those players because you believe that a deal like that is going to bring exactly back what you need, all right, well, then you're willing to trade those assets. And I think they trade Shane Wright. But I also know, in having conversation with Botterill a number of weeks back, that they were looking to bring him some help, to give him a little bit more insulation, a little bit more to work with as well. But I think Seattle is just at a point now, borderline desperate, where those types of trades with good young players like that, they have to consider it at this stage.
Given this free agency market, do you expect to see the trades happen this week before July 1st? Like, I guess we're down to it here. Like in the next 24 hours, or do you think people want to see, first of all, what they can do on the free agent market, and then when they're disappointed, turn to the trades?
Yeah. Well, in a perfect world, some of these bigger trades would happen, leading into tomorrow, right? Like, look at Darnell Nurse and the Edmonton Oilers here for a moment. To date, Darnell has not been willing to expand his 3-team no-trade list. Well, Stan Bowman has exhausted every conversation he can with those 3 teams, trying to create a fit. Well, why is that? It's not to do Darnell a favor. It's in the best interest of both, for Darnell Nurse, who wants a fresh start, and for the Edmonton Oilers. But Edmonton could use whatever portion of cap space is going to be created by moving out his $9.2+ million cap hit. But they're right up against it. So if they're not able to find a partner, in the next day here, well, that free agent market, which isn't very deep, is going to shrink considerably in the days ahead, obviously. The good players that are on the list, some of them are going to get scooped up in the next probably 12 hours or so, right? Because we've seen, John Carlson's rights get traded, Radko Gudas. Those players are probably going to sign with the teams that, their rights got moved to. So it can be damaging for certain teams like Edmonton. So there is a clock that ticks around July 1st, not just around free agency, but specifically with cap space and some of the players in play.
Dregs, help me out. Alexander Nikishin, a 6'3", 220-pound rookie defenseman on 11 goals, 33 points, and a Stanley Cup is apparently available with the Hurricanes. What is the story there? And since they've missed the buyout window with Kotkaniemi, is he perhaps a way to get them off the Kotkaniemi money going forward?
Yeah, I guess he could be. That is an interesting one in Nikishin, because you're right. There's a lot of interest around this kid, and there should be. He's a big, strong lad. So my understanding is that when he joined the Carolina Hurricanes this season, coming out of the Continental Hockey League, his promise was that it would be for 1 year. He wasn't entirely sure. He wanted to make sure that the fit is right in Carolina, and then he'd make a decision, right? His decision would be, okay, let's negotiate a contract extension. Let's explore trade, or perhaps worst case scenario of Carolina, he goes back to the KHL, right? And so I think the way things unfolded for him in the playoffs, especially in the Stanley Cup final, where Rod Brindamore didn't use him as much in the championship final, where Nikishin went, okay, maybe this is a glimpse into my future. I'm grateful that I jumped into the National Hockey League and won a Stanley Cup, but maybe there's a better fit somewhere else. And it's been rumored that his extension demands are somewhere in the vicinity of around $8.5 million per. And that might create some sticker shock for not only Carolina Hurricanes, but some around the National Hockey League as well. But there's plenty of interest in this kid. Yeah, I know the New York Rangers have had some interest. I think there was some initial dialogue with the Columbus Blue Jackets and a handful of other teams. So if or when Carolina decides they will pull the trade trigger, he's going to be an easy piece, I think, to trade.
Well, LA Kings, what are they doing at center ice? Dregs, we know they got a big void there with Kopitar having retired.
Enormous in so many different ways. And it does feel like Kenny Holland is going to have to do something there. But, LA is a team that I'm watching for a myriad of reasons, but watching more longer term. And I might even put Dallas into that equation. I suppose you could talk with the top teams. We're so used to Florida and Vegas being Kelly McCrimmon and Bill Zito. And Zito did it again today in acquiring Jacob Markstrom from the New Jersey Devils in a trade with multiple pieces. But he makes the money work, right? And now he's going to have to get a bit more creative because he does have pieces he needs to sign in Schmid and in Gudas, who I talked about earlier. But they just find a way. They find a way. And you don't know what's going to happen in Edmonton. Is Mike Babcock going to be successful in doing whatever he's allowed to do? On board with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Hyman and all these terrific leaders in Edmonton, is he going to be the answer there? And if he isn't, is that enough for Connor to go, okay, all right, no, it didn't work this year, so I can't do it here anymore. And I'd say the same thing of Austin Matthews. There's no guarantees in Toronto. And I think that LA and Dallas are two teams that are just sitting there going, okay, let's just muscle through the next year. Let's roll the dice. Let's see if one of these big top dogs actually pokes out into the market and we'll be in a good position to perhaps land one. It's risky business.
And what about the other Connor? What are the chances that Connor Hellebuyck is starting opening night for the Winnipeg Jets next season?
Well, that wouldn't be preferential if you're Connor Hellebuyck. He, look, I mean, all indications are it's an amicable split here. And in fact, Hellebuyck hasn't shared this with me, nor has his agent, that he has formally asked for a trade. But I'm sure that those conversations took place with management whereby he said, okay, let's try and find me a place that makes more sense for me and my family now, right? And the list of teams that were supplied is a lengthy one, but part of the problem is that the majority of those teams already have number one goalies, or they're decent in goal and don't want to spend the assets because they see Connor Hellebuyck as an upgrade. Now, automatically, social media world, connected New Jersey and Winnipeg when the Markstrom trade happened. So Markstrom goes to Florida. And again, lots can change with a simple call from Sonny Mehta to Kevin Cheveldayoff, but there's been no back and forth. There's been no connection between the New Jersey Devils and Winnipeg. And are we sure that Connor Hellebuyck would go to New Jersey? So, no different than Dylan Larkin and maybe Darnell Nurse, guys. Hellebuyck is in the same situation here in that here are the options that you may have to consider. One, you expand your list. And Hellebuyck, like I said, gave a lengthy list. Larkin did not. Nurse did not. Two, if there isn't a suitable trade, be back in training camp and be ready to play goal for the Winnipeg Jets. Dylan, be ready to come back to Detroit, and Darnell, likewise in Edmonton. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but these guys are all under contract, so they might have to do that.
Have we retired the Mike Babcock impression, Dregs, or are we still active in that game?
Well, we did. While the speculation was ongoing, Ferraro and I did roll it out a couple of times in that process, and so yeah, you know what? It's a privilege to be back on the bench here with the great Oil. I've been an Oilers fan for many, many years, surrounded by not just good players and good people, but superstars. When you talk about Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, they're not good players. They're superstars.
That's so good. I can't believe we're going to be listening to that for real.
I know. It's back, baby. It's back.
I should have done the third person impersonation.
Oh, that's right. You got to work in Mike Babcock talking about Mike Babcock.
You know what Mike Babcock thinks of Connor McDavid?
It's very Kelly of you. It's very good.
Yeah.
An exclamation point to end this hit in this season with Darren Dreger. Thanks for all your help this season, my friend.
So
have a safe journey out to the cabbage. We look forward to reconnecting in September, October.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center. Time to welcome back the director of everything at Elite Prospects, home on Vancouver Island from Buffalo. I'm going to guess Vancouver Island never looked as good as when the plane was coming down. Here's Cam Robinson after his weekend at the draft. Hello.
Buffalo's great this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Said no one.
Oh. The weather held at least. But I'll mention this real quick, though, boys. Director of everything is starting to catch on. They introduced me as that on like MSG Network when I was there in Buffalo.
Really?
Too. I was like, oh man, it's starting to pick up steam. I'm probably going to get like a meeting with HR after this or something.
That is not your title. Don't falsely advertise yourself.
Thank you, MSG, for listening to the show. Shout you out.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but we can joke about Buffalo, but from what I've been able to pick up, Cam, more so than the host city, it's the loss of the decentralized draft that just about everyone who isn't an NHL general manager hates. Like, including, like, some people thought, like, the commissioner was being passive-aggressive about it in the arena. Like, just everyone except for the 32 general managers. And I'm not even sure it's 32 general managers. I think it's just the squeakiest wheels of that lot have gotten their way here and diminish something that was uniquely NHL and a whole lot of fun for so many.
What do you think the split is for GMs? What do you think the split is? How many teams are for the centralized and how many are against?
Yeah, so unfortunately I don't have 32 GMs that'll pick up the phone for me. But I mean, I think I talked to 7 different GM / presidents of hockey ops at the Combine. 6 of them told me that they felt it should come back. 6 of 7. 3 of them said they voted to stay decentralized last year, and then the draft hadn't even happened, obviously, at the Combine, and they were like saying, they're like, you know what? I think it needs to come back. And one of them said, like, we can't make this the annual event where everyone comes together, the draft combine, like to try to get work done. It's too early. This isn't the right forum for it. So I certainly think that there is an appetite from some execs, and then some of them, even after last year's, were like passionate about it coming back. That they're like, this is crazy that we're not doing it. And now, like, my hope is diminished. Like, I don't think Gary's even going to do a vote this summer. I think it's just going to run it back decentralized.
He said he wasn't going to. He said he's not going to poll them on a yearly basis. But here's the problem, especially on the Saturday, day 2.
Oh,
you get the overhead shot that's panning the arena, and especially as you get into round 6 or 7. There's nobody in the chairs near the front of the stage. There's nobody in the bowl. And, of course, because you don't have 32 operating teams and all their personnel around tables, it's really footage of nobody. It looks so Mickey Mouse. It looks so small time. It makes the NHL look like minor sports. That's what has been lost. Like, they either got to find a way to dress it up the way the NBA, the NFL do their draft set, or they have to go back to what they have just for the purposes of the images that are coming out of the draft, Cam.
Boys, they, on day 2, went outside of the arena and they were recruiting people to come inside, giving them free tickets to come and sit in those seats right on the floor, not up in the stands. They were pulling people out off the street to fill those seats. We were watching them do it. They were walking right by me. These people were like, oh, they grabbed us. They asked us if we wanted to come, and then they put them right on the floor. It's just a bunch of random people wearing like just maybe not dressed up for the occasion. How about that? We could say that, mingled with some of the kids and their families that are dressed to the nines, hoping to hear their name called, something they've worked for. It was, Steve Mayer does a great job putting on NHL events. I don't put that on him, but I mean, it was improved over last year because they got rid of the technical difficulties and like all that extra cringe stuff that we had, but it's still highly diminished.
Unpopular opinion: you don't televise rounds 5 through 7. You can still do them. You still welcome them on stage, but you just don't televise it. I mean, you're not missing out on the star power.
I want to watch it, though. I want to watch it. I want to hear the experts break down the picks. Like, for me, that is the core of why I'm watching the draft. But yeah, like the set should be dressed. I mean, that sounds like a bad game show, Cam. Like, come on down. Please sit in the audience. Like, next year they'll be paying people to sit in those seats. Anyways, I just hope Gary hammers down and tells the GMs, no, we had something special there. Y'all ruined it, and we're going back. Okay, on the Canucks. Nils Höglander out, Brendan Gallagher in. Your take.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the writing's been on the wall forever for Nils Höglander that he hasn't fit with a coach since he scored 24, right? Or 25 or whatever it was that season. It's just he's found himself in the doghouse continually. Yeah, injuries are a problem, but it's too bad because he's like one of these like uniquely tenacious, skilled players that can fit up and down a lineup when he's going. It's just been so long since he's been going. So to get a third round pick, yeah, it's in 100 years from now, but it's still a third round pick. So I don't think that that's a bad piece of business for RJ. And then bringing in Gallagher, I think it's very evident what this team is doing. Like on the Gallagher front, it made a lot of sense. Montreal is trying to do right by a player who, did a lot for them over the course of a decade plus in that organization, sending him home. But for Vancouver, it's not a surprise with the Twins and Ryan Johnson at the helm here is that they are looking for culture carriers. They're looking for guys to sort out that dressing room, which has been an absolute mess for a couple of years now. And, I think that played a role in their drafting without question. I think it's going to play a role in who they move out of that dressing room here soon too, as well. And the type of guys that they, attack in free agency, even though they're going to be a budget team. I think the players are going to be bringing in are guys that are going to be able to mold the young players the right way. And then when it's their time to leave, you flip them for assets and you bring in more young guys. And now that culture is starting to bring in just something that's there. And you do have to kind of start from scratch.
Which brings us to Gallagher then, who gets acquired. But he doesn't sound like he is a guy that they can flip based on his protections around trades. You tell me, can you envision a world where Gallagher comes in with all of his character and then okays a trade at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I know people are thinking that that's like a complete non-starter. I think if he comes in and you give him a good role and he manages to bounce back, maybe he scores 15 goals this season or something like that. It's not out of the question. And then the Canucks are going to be sitting in 32nd or 31st or something like that. And then you go, hey, Gally, you want to go play in Tampa? You want to go play in Tampa this spring and see if you can't run for a cup? I don't know. If that's me at the end of my career, I'm probably saying yes. I'm probably being like, yeah, that's cool.
I've always
leave the family in Vancouver. I'm going to go play for a couple months, hopefully win something, and then, come on home and figure out the next step. So that's how I look at it. And also the fact that they got him at half a salary, right, for futures. They can also then retain another half. So you'd be trading him for free. So you can get yourself an asset back and return it. It seems like it could be win-win, but at the end of the day, it's like, it wouldn't shock me if he just plays the season in Vancouver and acts as that kind of glue guy in the room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just back on Höglander for a second. There is a argument. We talked about it briefly yesterday, but I heard Drance talking about it as well. You weren't going to find a player of that age with that sort of upside and potential that could turn himself into a better player out there on the market, free agency or trade, or at least it would be very difficult. You had opportunity in a rebuild to get put a 25-year-old in the lineup every night who had scored 24 goals in the past and see if he could, A, be a player for you long-term because he is actually young enough that he fits their rebuild timeline, or become an even better player and return you an even better asset somewhere down the road, given that he's got 2 years left on the contract. Does any of that resonate with you? Is that a fair shout with regards to Höglander, that they sold low when they had opportunity to see if you could rehabilitate the player?
Matt's a big fifth chance guy.
Yeah, big fifth chance guy.
I'm asking the question. I know that the opinion is out there. I name check someone who has that opinion, Price. I'm bringing it up for the sake of debate.
Don't tell Tom, but I mean, it was one of the first things I thought of was, and yes, I know he's been through several coaches and it hadn't worked out, and it's like, but I don't love selling low. I think getting a third round pick, even though it was so far down the road, it's like that's fine value. So you're not kicking yourself for it. But I was a little curious to see how he would work under Manny. So which is kind of a different style of coach than he's had in a little while. And also, again, like with this kind of reset, this freshness in the lineup, were you able to give him top 9 minutes? Are you able to give him power play 2 minutes? And like you said, Matt, my first thought was that you rebuild him, his value, and then you decide, is this someone we want to keep? Is this someone who's going to fit for us for the next 3 or 4 years? Or now his value, and now maybe we trade him at the deadline. Maybe you're getting a second for this next draft, which would be far more valuable.
See, Blake,
but
two smart people agree, Cam Robinson and Thomas Drance. And given that they both agree, you know what? I'm throwing my hat in the ring with them. Now it's a triumvirate. I hate the trade. I take everything back that I said yesterday.
I got suckered into this way of thinking too. And then because then I started to apply it to Elias Pettersson, guys. And I started to think, geez, Manny is such a good communicator. He's such a good guy. I think he could probably, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no, I'm not giving him a fifth chance.
Step away from the ledge.
Mr. Fifth Chance.
No, but it's different. He's 11.6 million. He's 11.6 million. Nils is 3 million.
You guys want me to come back later?
Cam?
Can you fix him, Cam? No, I need you to fix him before you depart here.
Why does
my to-do list now that you're back from Buffalo? It is different with Leo Pettersson.
Not only that the cost on the cap, but also it's like it. I don't know, like, with Pettersson, it feels like it's between the ears. I don't know if that was the case with Höglander. I wonder, right? Like, it just seems like, Pettersson has every opportunity all the time. He's always gotten it. There's never been a time where he's not getting all the greatest opportunities. Höglander hasn't always had that. The best moment to trade him would have been right after he scored all those goals that year. And then when you didn't and the bottom fell out, and it's like, I believe in rebuilding. And honestly, I believe in that with Pettersson to a degree too, is that I would not be just getting rid of that contract. Personally, that's not what I would be doing. The team's bad. They're not going to be spending to the cap anyways. Keep trying to make his value better unless you get an offer that actually makes some sense for you, like where you're getting quality futures in return. If you're not, sit on him and try to fix him again. I'd give him 8 chances if I could try to fix him because he has that potential still to return something tangible.
Well, the argument is true that also they have time on the Pettersson file because they don't care if he plays bad for them necessarily, right? Like they'd rather he played well so that he bolstered their strength. But if he helps them lose, that's not the end of the world either.
Now I got to fix both of you. I got to fix both of you. This is really devolving this one, Mike. The other difference between Elias and Nils Höglander is that Elias is terrible for culture. Everything that you said about Brendan Gallagher does not apply to Elias Pettersson, right? Like, I think the Twins and RJ are looking at it like, we don't want this guy around the young players. It's terrible. He's already had to be around them. He's not the example we want them to follow, let alone keep giving somebody with this work ethic or lack of more and more opportunities, because that's an even worse example on our part for doing so.
I don't know because it's not like he's toxic. It's not like he's in there running his mouth and being this kind of big, loud, negative presence in the dressing room. I think he might be a little sullen at times. And this is me just like, I'm not in the room. Like, I don't know how he might just be a quiet dude in the room making 11. He might be making, he might be making 11-6 and nobody hears from him. Right. Which is, and when you look at guys like Zebuyam and you're going to have, Malholtra in that room eventually. And like all these guys that said, you don't need to make Pettersson the poster boy for what you need to live up to. Yeah. You sometimes you have, not petulant, but you have these kind of stars over here that we like him because he can do something for us, but you don't need to emulate him. You want to emulate this guy over here. And again, it's just like, I hate to sell low. I hate to sell low. It kills me, especially when the value could have been so high. So if you need to keep him in that dressing room, you don't need to make him the poster boy for what success looks like, but you can still try to build him up. And hey, maybe the young guys around him will inspire him. now that's reaching a little bit,
but Gallagher and Manny, maybe they get him right.
Maybe they can fix him.
You know, maybe, yeah.
Okay, moving along.
He's frustrated. I love it.
No. Carry on. We are, you know how Canucks fans love their nostalgia. You know how they love their ex-Canucks, right? You play for the Vancouver Canucks. You were remembered in the province of British Columbia forever. They want to add a veteran leader to the defense corps. And gosh darn it, Cam, Ian Cole's a free agent. Eric Goodbranson's a free agent. Noah Juulsen's a free agent. And Luke Schenn is a free agent, my dude. Who's the veteran leader they should sign tomorrow?
I mean, as long
all
as
the
they're not
next
playing
Canucks
many
defensemen.
As long as they're not playing minutes, as long as they're number 6, number 7, guys, like I got no problem. Like Schenn's a beauty. Like he's a great guy. Everybody loves Luke Schenn. I think Goodbranson's a beauty too. Everybody likes Goody. Brings the stud factor up too. Don't know much about Juulsen if he's a good guy or not, but I mean, like, yeah, Ian Cole, whatever. My kid calls him Ian, by the way. That's why I do. Yeah, you want to bring in guys like that because you think they're going to fit into the room again, and you had good experiences with them. I got no problem with that, giving them league men or something like that and having them come in and out of the lineup and be someone who's you want, like Schenn, I like because he plays heavy and hard, but he doesn't really move the needle on the ice too much for you. But I like those guys. If you're bringing them in and they're going to be a culture guy, they're going to be a glue guy, they're also going to be a hard guy on the ice too, right? I think that has to go hand in hand.
But they will make that signing. Well, after not bringing back P.O. Joseph, they're going to bring in a guy like these guys at the very least, right?
You would imagine, yes. That must be on their to-do list, yeah.
Okay. Lastly, you are the draft expert. You are our draft insider. We spoke to you Saturday after the Nicholas Aram Olsen pick, but we would be remiss if we didn't ask you for your expert opinion on the totality of the work from Todd Harvey and the Canucks amateur scouts at the draft table. Well, at the draft, there is no more draft table. At the draft in Buffalo. There's the list for those of you on visual platforms, beautifully displayed by elite prospects. There was the goaltender Dmitry Evchenko, the Yaroslav Brizgalov, the Medicine Hat winger Connor Davis, the forward Lucien Bernat, the interesting Slovak, and then huge Samuel Eriksson as the final pick. Give me your grade and assessment of the 9 players they selected in the draft.
I think they did very well. I'm pretty sure we gave them an A+ on EP, one of just a handful of teams, 2 or 3 teams that got an A+. The Malhotra pick, we've been talking on this show for weeks going back, and I was the one kind of being like, I don't think it's going to be a problem to have son and father there together. As we got closer, I had just had intel that it seemed like maybe it wasn't going to go that way just to give him that chance. But again, I think it's a good pick at 3. I think he's got a little Trevor Linden, and if we want to talk old Canucks, I think he's got a little Nick Suzuki in his game. He's off to BU. It's going to be a highly offensive team there. I think he's going to step in and get a big role right out the gate. He's a leader. Screw it. Who cares if his dad's the coach? I'm totally fine with that pick. The Novotny pick, though, for me, that's a big one. He should have gone 10 spots earlier. He should have gone. Like he's big, he's fast, he shoots, he's got details to his game, he's got leadership abilities. We look at him like Adrian Kempe style. Like I'm not sure if he's going to score 40, regularly like Kempe turned out to be. But he's that kind of guy. He's smart. But again, like he's big and he's fast and he scores. Like those are great qualities. He shouldn't have been there for them at 24. So I think that's a terrific pick there. Legitimate top 6 upside. Rogalski, lower upside, going to play games. Another culture guy. Like everybody raves about Rogalski to me as a person and a player in the room. So I think as a 6'7" center, you're looking at like a Michael McCarron type, a Brian Boyle type, where he's going to play a 4th line role for you. Just going to be probably a bit of a weight on him. You get down to it. Aaron Olsen, he's a full boomer bust. And we talked there at the draft, and you guys were asking if he was going to play in Sweden. I completely forgot that he was going to BU next year, right? Like he'll be with Malhotra at BU. So he's a shooter. He's got some pizzazz to his game. He needs more of a B game, or else he's probably not even going to be a player. So he definitely needs to round out his off puck habits and all those things like that. But if he hits, he's top 6. If he misses, he's top 6 in Europe. But I'm okay with that at that pick too, right? When you have multiple picks, you get down into it. Ivchenko there. He didn't play much, but he's poised. He's calm in the net. He's a good skater. He's got good size. I'm totally fine with that. Brizgalov can't skate, which is unfortunate. So he can't move. So he moves the puck really, really quickly, which is impressive. He's got good handles for that and he good vision. But he's a project with those feet. The last one I'll say here is Davis is probably like my favorite later round pick for them, the D1. Like nobody touches this kid's motor. Like he is the Energizer Bunny out there. He's hard along the wall. He gets into hard areas. One of the best even strength scorers in the USHL this year. And off to North Dakota. I love what North Dakota is doing right now. I love how they're developing. Like he's got legitimate like checking line NHL upside that you're getting in the whatever that was there, the 5th. I think that was a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I know his hometown too, Vaudreuil. Hard workers from Vaudreuil.
Nice.
Marvelous. Thank you for all this. Thank you for the weekend. We really enjoyed you shepherding our draft coverage yet again this year. And look, if you're going to be around all summer, we're going to talk to you all summer. Okay, so we'll catch up next week. You get some rest. You take care of the honey-do list around the crib. What?
No, next week for me, boy. I'm going to the cabin. I'm a ghost for 2 weeks. Well, we can talk about it later, but you won't hear from me again after
mid-July then. Till mid-July.
We'll see you then.
We'll talk then. Sekeres and Price from the Historic Wall Center. As we've been telling you, it is getting really, really busy and popular at Nat Bailey Stadium, celebrating 75 years. The 75-cent hot dog promotion on Tuesdays has got the ballpark sold out tonight. They're sold out tomorrow for Canada Day and post-game fireworks, and they're here for the next 2 weeks. And joining us now is Seas infielder Tucker Toman. He's already been a Northwest League Player of the Week this year. Big part of the offensive attack here for the Seas. And he joins us for the first time. Thank you for the time, Tucker. Appreciate this.
Thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor.
You're more than welcome. I mean, you got here last year. You got to start here this year. First of all, tell us thoughts and impressions of playing here in Vancouver.
I love it here. It's so nice. I love. It's definitely a little bit different than Florida with the weather, which is amazing. It's a cool experience. I think playing at Nat Bailey is some of the best baseball I've ever played. I mean, of course, in front of the most people that I've ever played in front of. But man, it's so much fun. You got the crowds into it, and they always show up, and they seem like they have a fun time, and they love seeing good baseball.
What was your expectations when you found out you were going to move up from Dunedin to Vancouver? Did you have a preconceived notion of what this whole thing looked like?
Because I've been thinking about it for, of course, a couple years, and I really wondered what it was going to be like, and it exceeded all expectations for sure. Once I got here at the end of last year and I got to experience probably like a sellout crowd with fireworks after or whatever it was, it just exceeded all expectations.
Tell us about your baseball journey, young man, because I understand baseball runs deep in the family.
Yeah. My dad was a baseball coach for 30 plus years in the college ranks, starting at really starting from anywhere and everywhere, but his main stops were South Carolina, and his first head coaching job was at Liberty. And then my brother and I just continued to play baseball throughout our whole lives. And my brother was a pitcher, got sidelined from surgeries, but baseball runs deep in our family. And man, I'm here today, and I continue to love the game.
So what kind of influence was dad and brother in your life then in terms of choosing the path of baseball?
Yeah, I think it helped out a lot because all we did when I was younger was play baseball, whether it be wiffle ball in the backyard or I kind of grew up in a college clubhouse. I know you see guys today kind of growing up in a big league clubhouse, some of the kids, but I grew up in a college clubhouse, which really helped me just kind of have the love for the game and see the ins and outs of it and see that it's really a game of failure. So it helped me understand that at a young age.
They've had you at second base and at third. What's your preference? You like the hot corner?
I definitely have more innings and just more of my time at third base, but man, I'm comfortable playing second base as well.
Hey, Tucker,
How's the progression felt for you so far here this season? Do you feel like you've taken that next step now? Is you got to keep on climbing that ladder? Do you feel like you got a firm grasp of this rung?
Yeah, I feel like I had a good month of April and then didn't do so well in May and then got back to it in June. Really felt like I hit a corner in June and just trying to get back on that track and ride it out.
So what was it, Tucker? What clicked then? What's the corner you speak of?
I think it can come down to just a couple of simple things. I think I was able to be present and just be in the moment and cherish every at bat, and then execute what I'm trying to do. Just trying to take my best swing on whatever pitch I'm looking for and simplify it as that. Not too many swing thoughts or anything like that. So just trying to get a good pitch to hit and put my best swing on it.
It's kind of like golf. It works better when you're not thinking about it. Good call. Let me ask you this. You're the 77th overall pick in the draft, which is kind of in that territory. Do I sign and start my pro career or do I go to school? You're committed to LSU. I mean, big-time program there, Tucker. And Dad's a college baseball coach, and you decided, no, I'm ready to start my pro journey. Talk to me about that decision.
Yeah, so my dad went to 3 College World Series in Omaha, and he never won one. So that was definitely something that like I desired personally to go. I wanted to go win one, and just because like our family has been around the game and around. You could say like Omaha. I don't know if you guys are big in college baseball, but it's a big deal in the South. Well, where I'm from,
For
in the
sure.
South. And so that was definitely in my mind. I was definitely at the place to go do that, or if I went to college. But at the end of the day, I want to play in the big leagues. And where I was at 18, I feel like it was time for me to take that next step and get into pro ball and really just get my feet wet in the pro ball and learn what it means to be a professional baseball player and kind of go up the ranks.
I mean, you're not hitting 600. Nobody does. But when you arrive here, did the level of pitching or anything surprise you? Like, or do you feel like, okay, I think I'm keeping up to speed to where I'm supposed to be at?
In high A or in pro ball when I got there?
Well, just at each level, has the skill level surprised you, or has it been sort of appropriate for where your game's been at?
I feel like it's been pretty appropriate for where my games have been at. I do remember last year when I first got up here, they threw pretty good. They threw more strikes here in high A.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say the velo is probably consistently higher as well. Like you have guys who throw hard in single A, but here you have consistently guys who throw harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
So,
we've experienced both levels
yeah.
here, so we've seen the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we see short season ball here, and then when the C's moved to high A, Blake and I both made first game too. We made the observation, wow, like these guys can really play. So it's been awesome watching. It's been awesome watching you and your teammates play this year. Big week at hand, Canada Day, fireworks. I'm sure you guys love those 75-cent hot dog Tuesdays. Or any getting snuck into the dugout, Tucker, during
That
games
fits the
on
budget
Tuesday?
Of
I can't confirm or deny that, but that is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it is a good deal. Yes,
It sure is, and so is watching you guys at the Nat. Look forward to the next couple of weeks. Tons of promotions. Get to a few of them later in the program. As always, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Get your tickets. The new right field Canadian Club is opening up with that new viewing area. We're looking forward to that. Hey, Tucker, thanks for the time. Keep on keeping on with the
best of luck. Yeah.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center in the Nation Network studio. Built by Arbor Lee, cheer harder when you're well rested. Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center puts you minutes from the arena, miles ahead the next morning. Lock in your game day stay at wallcenter.com. So how great is this World Cup? Is this a 10 out of 10 entertainment value? Mike was telling me he was going to leave yesterday, but Paraguay and Germany were going to penalties. So you're not leaving when it's going to penalties, right?
No.
Both the Germans and the Dutch eliminated on penalties in knockout day 2. And is there anything in sport more dramatic, more tense than penalties at a World Cup, particularly when you have a David and Goliath factor like you did with Paraguay and Germany?
And for any non-soccer fans that think the soccer net's too big and it's just too easy to score, really? Like those are the best players in the world,
right?
Yeah, and they can't get the thing on the goal, for God's sake.
Well, they're trying to be too fine. Fine lines, Blake. Soccer coach once told us, fine lines. So 4 knockout games so far. Canada wins in stoppage time over South Africa. Brazil wins in stoppage time over Japan. Paraguay with the upset of Germany on PKs. Morocco ties it in stoppage time to go on and win it against the Dutch on PKs. And so it is Morocco, not the Dutch, to face Canada Saturday in Houston in the round of 16. Of course, the Moroccans beat Canada en route to the semifinals of the tournament 4 years ago in Qatar. How about this? I did not know this until your boy Dan Riccio tweeted it out. The Moroccan goalkeeper's Canadian.
Yeah.
He was born in Montreal. Yeah. He moved to Morocco at age 3. Ex-Canadian coach Benito Floro tried to get him to wear the maple leaf. Now he's going to face Canada with a spot in the World Cup quarterfinals on the line.
Yeah, he was with them 4 years ago as well. So
Yassine Bounou? Bounou?
Yeah. Bono. Yeah.
Bono.
He's that Moroccan team is frightening at times. If they play the way they did yesterday versus Canada, I don't think there's much of a chance for Canada. But teams don't cut and paste their efforts from game to game. There is variation, Blake,
they're going to be tired. They played the extra 30 minutes plus, right? and with one less day of rest. So they are
one less day of rest. Yeah.
Canada should be the fresher side.
Matt, really, it's 2 days. It's 2 days less of rest because they play the late game. They get no day after. Canada actually they were able to go through rest and rehabilitation after their match because it was so early in the day. So it's almost like 2 extra days of rest for Canada. No, I'm not saying it's pointless for Canada. I think Canada's not played very well. Like Canada's into the round of 16, Matt. I don't think they've played very well. And other people have said this, Canada doesn't look very good. And I'm thinking, no, they don't look very good right now. So if Canada can find a way to start to peak here at this tournament, I think it could get really interesting. But they need to do that, and they need to hope that Morocco takes a step back from fatigue, from consistency issues, what have you. They need to take a little bit of a step back. The other thing to consider here, Morocco was marvelous to look at. They had all the colors on their brushes and were painting on the canvas. But, Matt, their scoring chances, their shots taken, shots on target, they weren't gaudy totals. And this has been a bit of a critique of them, is that they can get themselves into all sorts of scoring chances, but they don't finish on a ton of them. So if Canada can avoid getting taken advantage of with that high back line that we keep harping on, because they've got a lot of speed, Morocco does. If Canada avoids getting caught like that, they could defend well enough to keep Morocco's scoring down low. So I'm eminently intrigued. I think it's going to be a middleweight slog in the middle of the ring, and I think Canada's got a chance. I put it at a 1 in 3 chance.
Okay. I mean, hell, they got guys for Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain. It's a really good team.
It's
Their
serious.
manager,
it's serious.
Mohamed Ouabi, on Canada. Canada is going to be difficult for us. We need to rest up. We need to come back fresh. We need to be telling ourselves no one will stop us, because he also says nobody is unbeatable. I absolutely cannot believe that Paraguay beat Germany yesterday. I sat down to watch them play the United States, the tournament opener for both teams from LA.
So disappointed by that. Yeah, so disappointed.
They lost 4-1. They should have lost 8-1. They were absolutely dominated from the opening whistle till the end by the U.S. Blake, I was sitting there watching Andres Kubas going, this is a really good player in my MLS soccer worldview. He looks like table scraps out there. Like he's getting absolutely dummied possession after possession. Well, now he's through to the round of 16. The Whitecaps were very excited about that. You see all the tweeting about, as they call him, La Maquina, Andres Kubas. And how about the match he had? First of all, he's played every minute of every match, Kubas. 6 tackles, 2 blocks, 3 interceptions. He won 7 duels in the match yesterday. And the Caps return to the pitch next Wednesday at Swangard for a Canadian Championship leg match versus Cavalry FC of Calgary. And then their next MLS match, or first MLS match back, is July 16th. And suddenly that is very notable because Robert Lewandowski could be in the lineup for the Chicago Fire that night. He is an absolute legend of global football, an icon. He is Poland's all-time leading goal scorer. I mean, there's Lewandowski and there's everybody else when it comes to Polish soccer. Also,
long-time teammate of Muller, of course.
A distinguished club career with Bayern Munich. Has often been like a leading goal scorer in the Bundesliga or beyond. So suddenly we have some sizzle. Global footballing icon versus global footballing icon. And also got to say, like the Japanese-Brazil game, particularly at the end when the Brazilians were pressing, was just exceptional entertainment. Carry on, World Cup. Carry on.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, Uruguay flying commercial home because they had their charter revoked and they arrived in the middle of the night to critical response. And South Korea, too, scheduled their flight to land at 4 a.m. to avoid any scenes at the airport. They did not avoid any scenes at the airport. The crowds were still there to ridicule the early departure for South Korea. So that's
honestly,
the other side of the
it
World
is such a scandal in South Korea that those players may have to be forced to do military service before it's done yet here. You remember that was the scandal.
They blurred the face of the head coach at the presser.
I know,
they
I
gave
saw
a presser
that.
after
Exactly. You were
not worth
you will
it.
not
I'll
even show your face. Blue Jays snapped their 6-game slide. They beat the Mets 2-1 thanks to 6 2/3 strong innings from our boy, the ex-seed Trey Savage. Did you see Bo Bichette get all teary-eyed? I mean, he broke down crying in his first visit to Toronto after signing with the New York Mets. He was just super emotional in the pregame. Last more bad injury news for the Jays as they head to Seattle this weekend without the pride of Bellevue, Washington. Addison Barger suffered a stress reaction, small fracture in his back, shut down for a couple of weeks. John Schneider reports he had been making progress with the elbow, and then the volume of hitting pissed off his back, quote unquote, according to Schneider. You'll remember Barger owned Seattle in that J Series sweep last year in May, and then beat him up some more in the ALCS. Mariners right the ship thanks to 2 home runs from Cole Young. Boy, is he really coming along. And 8 outstanding innings from George Kirby. Boy, the rookie second baseman. They haven't been hitting a ton, but Cole Young picked them up yesterday. And then we mentioned the Vancouver Canadians back at the Nat tonight for a 2-week homestand. Tonight, tomorrow sold out, so get your tickets for Thursday through the weekend. Friday is the first Schools Out Nooner with a card set giveaway. Players will autograph their cards after the game. Saturday is the special 5 o'clock first pitch. Make note. It's usually 7 in the summer, 1 in the spring, but they're going 5 p.m. on Saturday. White Spot Family Fun Sunday features a Build-A-Bob block set giveaway. And Blake, tonight the long-awaited Canadian Club opens up. This is the new patio that they've been building down the right field line. Sadly, it was a little bit delayed, but this is an extraordinary venue and is going to be one of the hottest tickets in Vancouver. They're calling it the Canadian Club, and it's standing room with high top tables for 150 people, and it's available to you with a game day ticket. First come, first serve. You see it there. I mean, it just looks like a magnificent place to watch a baseball game. Some of the area is covered, so you got the shade. Some of it will be there in the sun. First come, first serve. Go hang out at the Canadian Club. Summer's upon us, and the Seas are always the hottest ticket in town. Get yours, 604-872-5232, CanadiansBaseball.com. And the well, not bid per se, but the expression of interest, the show us you're serious about pitching a baseball team for Vancouver with the city of Vancouver. All that paperwork was due, a week or so ago. Today we're getting word that the Show Vancouver Bid Corporation's efforts to bring Major League Baseball to Vancouver has none other than Lululemon founder Chip Wilson amongst the 147 names to sign their support for the idea of an MLB expansion team to Vancouver. Now, important because there's a lot of like heavy hitter local guys and gals on that list. This is not a list of investors, though Wilson would be a very interesting one at $5.4 billion net worth. Zach Ross of the Cape Group is organizing. There's rumors that he's got a group behind him, money. Possibly it's been rumored that some San Francisco 49ers ownership could be involved. We'll see where it all goes. But there's apparently a lot of support for the idea of a bid. We'll see if there's a well-heeled investing group ready to put their money where their mouth is, and of course not only buy a team, but have to finance a stadium.
What are the chances that we're going to be building 2 stadiums and a hockey arena here in the next 5 years?
Can we please get Zach Ross and some Whitecaps would-be owners and Amar Doman all together and say, guys, we've got to do this omnibus. We got to find a stadium that works for all.
We're not a 5-stadium city.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. We don't have the real estate for that. Like, let's go.
I'm awaiting word from Ryan Rigmaiden here, the BC Lions general manager, but at this stage of the game, I mean, we're Tuesday, I suspect that special teams duties will be handled by the existing staff. This after the Lions fired their special teams coordinator, Corey McDermott, Sunday. Now, their defensive coordinator, Mike Benavides, has been a CFL special teams coordinator before. Yep. Exactly. I talked to Farhan about this. He wondered about maybe a permanent replacement could come during the bye week. The Leos, of course, host Edmonton Saturday at the Apple Bowl. Touchdown Kelowna Part 2, and then they have their second bye week of the season. So we'll see if it waits till then.
The second bye week could come in real handy if they drop this one. They could just have a reset of the year. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and they need to have guys tell them stories about the 2011 Lions 0-5, 1-6, won a Grey Cup. Huge news out of the NBA. LeBron James says he will continue his NBA career, just not with the Los Angeles Lakers. He says the franchise, and this is so LeBron, the franchise can move on without him, Blake.
Oh, does he think?
He's giving them permission to move on. Don't be tied to the idea of bringing Braun back. You're okay to go explore other alternatives. Braun won't be coming back to the purple and gold.
Well, as an expansion team, the Lakers will try to make do without him, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've had such trouble attracting talent over their history. There is rumors of LeBron James and Anthony Davis getting together with Steph Curry in Golden State, where Draymond has declined an option to go back. Blake, there's also rumors the Raptors may trade for Kawhi Leonard. I hate this. I absolutely hate this. I mean, he left you at the altar after winning a championship. It was 7 years ago. He's a diminished player.
He's also so enigmatic. He plays when he wants to,
super
not when
weird.
It's on the schedule.
Exactly. He's forever hurt. He's forever
I'm not even a
hurt.
Raptors fan, and I'm offended by this.
He's old.
Like,
he's unscrupulous. I mean, he's got the whole got paid, the side hustle by Ballmer with the Clippers. He's no longer
investigation, I believe.
He's no longer a championship centerpiece. Like, I realize Brandon Ingram is empty calories, but like, take a look at the Raptors starting five. It's pretty good. I would go New York Knicks model and just see if you can get 5 to 7 really good players who come together and get on a heater rather than go star chasing or even, former star chasing.
No,
with Kawhi.
Idea.
Anyways, and lastly, Canadians at Wimbledon. Tomorrow, a Canada Day match day for Felix Auger-Aliassime. He plays a Croat ranked 89th in the world. One of the things that's on my bucket list, perhaps you've done it, Blake, you're very well traveled internationally. Canada Day in London, I understand, is just out of this world.
They're happy for us, the little colony that could.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that His Majesty and his loyal subjects are happy for the beaver pelt colony all these centuries later, but there's a lot of Canadians in London, expats. There's a lot of Canadians visiting London in the summer. There are some known Canadian bars and restaurants that people go to celebrate Canada Day. Covent Garden in particular. Canada Day in London. Maybe catch the tennis match and then take the tube down to Covent Garden.
I was walking through Wales. I was walking through I'm losing my mind. Capital of Wales, Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wearing a Canada shirt because I was there cheering on my daughter who was playing for field hockey. And people would just give like high fives and like fist bumps, like, yes, Canada, we're with you. They
Absolutely.
at that point. But yeah, they're cheering Canada on.
The world loves Canada, Blake. The Maple Leaf down in Covent Garden. I went when I was in London last. Alas, they did not have U.S. football on. I was hoping to watch U.S. football. You have to distinguish there, of course.
Yes, of course. You just call it the NFL. They just referred to it as NFL.
Well, it was actually college football. It was the national semifinals.
Even less of a chance.
Yeah, well, they started so late. They're like, oh, that game starts a lot. We won't be open for the entirety of that game. So my brother and I found somewhere else. Right near Charing Cross Road.
Spirit of the West. There you go.
Darn right, Blake. Way to get the reverence. Gabriel Diallo wins in 5 sets today. He came back from 2 sets down. So, attaboy, Gabriel. We got 2 Canadians through to the second round at the Championships Wimbledon in the singles draw. They're the only 2. The women are all done. Poll question results from yesterday. Nils Höglander to Nashville for a third-round pick in 2029. Good deal for the Canucks, yes or no? People said...
People said yes.
Correct. Percentage?
70.
65. Nick, good value for a healthy scratch that looks lost in the D zone. Okay. Shafeen, Podkolzin 2.0. Wonder if McFarland sees something. Cora says, how is a third in 3 years a good deal? Raise your bar for good if you think that's good. I guess Cora's having a day. Mass neutral, not great, but looking at the whole picture, it's fine. Lastly, errors and omissions, and boy, I am all over this list. Yerky caught me for a couple on the weekend, one on the weekend, one yesterday. First of all, self-reporting, I said 4 substitutions for Canada against South Africa. It was the full 5. Yerky tells me I had Nils Höglander going to Detroit. Must have been a misspeak yesterday. And he also tells me I had the wrong ruck twin already drafted when we opened the show on Saturday, and we talked about Marcus and Liam and the possibility that they could be united if the second one,
understandable,
Marcus, got to Pittsburgh at pick 39. So thank you to Yerky on that. Anything to self-report, Blake?
Nothing that
this is
jumps to
your
mind,
time to cleanse your sins, okay?
Yeah.
Confession is open.
No, thank you, Father.
Hearing nothing, moving on. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube and wherever you get those podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. We are going to be noon Pacific time for tomorrow's Canada Day free agency derby. If something big happens between now and then, as you know, emergency pod season, so we could be on a little earlier tomorrow if something big breaks. It could be on a little later tonight if something big breaks. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.